thank you for joining me today at Layers of Living Water. I am honored that you have chosen to join me today. I'm going to share with you today a story about something I imagine you've probably had to deal with. We're going to talk about anger. We're going to talk about how to deal with it, and most importantly, we're going to talk about how to overcome it. So here's how the story goes. There was a father who had a young son who unfortunately had an anger issue. Seemed like the boy was getting mad every time he turned around. The day would go and many times he'd get angry and just was not happy with himself. And well, you can imagine the father wasn't happy with his young son getting angry all the time. So they tried many things to try to help the boy, and it just seemed like nothing was working. The father was driving home from work one day, and as he pulled in, he looked out back and he saw there was an old wood fence. Well, the father knew that fence was made out of pine and had been there for a long time. He said, hey, if I have my son drive a nail every time he starts to get angry, that will surely help him. So the father walked inside. He had gone to the garage. He got a bag of nails and he got a hammer and he said, son, come here. He said, I have a great idea. The son looked. Wonder why he's got that bag of nails and a hammer in his hand. Are we going to build something? Well, the father began to tell the son, this is what I want you to do. Every time you start to get angry, I want you to go drive a nail in that fence. The son thought for a minute and said, oh, that's not that bad. Sure, Dad, I don't know how that's going to help me, but I'll be glad to do it. Let's start it in the morning. Dad said, okay, that's what we're going to do. So the next morning came, and before the boy knew it, he felt himself start to get angry. Here he went, grabbed the nail, grabbed the hammer, went out to the fence. He put that nail up there and realized very quickly that it was much harder than he thought to drive that nail in the fence. The boy said, man, I've got to get better. This is going to be a lot of work. Well, unfortunately, that first day, that lad had made about 30 trips to the fence. And at the end of the day, he was tired, and he said, I have to do better. My hands are tired. My fingers are tired. It's hard to drive those nails in the fence. So they were headed on the path because now the boy was already thinking about it and thinking about how to keep himself from becoming angry. And so as it goes over the next couple weeks, each and every day, it was less and less and less trips to the fence. And the boy was feeling better and better because he was not having to drive those nails. And the father and the family was feeling better because they could see the boy making progress. They could understand that he was going to get control over this. And the day came. A whole day without having to make a trip out there to put a nail in the fence. The boy was so happy he couldn't wait for his father to get home that day. The father walked in and the boy said, Dad, I did not have to make any trips to the fence today. The father was so happy. He said, son, don't you feel better? He said, oh, absolutely, Dad. I feel so much better. So the next morning the boy got up. He walked outside and he looked at the fence and he said, man, that is really ugly. So many nails that I've had to put into that fence. It used to be so pretty, but now I've made it so ugly. Throughout the day, he began to think about it. What could he do to make that fence look better? The dad got home that evening and the boy said, Dad, what do you think if every day that goes by and I don't get angry, I go out there and take a nail out of the fence? The dad thought for a minute, said, that's a really great idea. We'll start it in the morning. And the boy said, okay. So that next morning, the boy gets up. Man, he was ready. He went through the day. He did not get angry. All was well. It came to the end of the day. The boy ran out there, took that first nail out. It was a lot of work to get that nail out, but he could feel the accomplishment he had had. He pulled that nail out. So days and days went by. Every day he was not getting angry. Every day he was taking a nail out of the fence until all the nails were gone. The boy was so happy. He stepped back as he pulled the last nail out of the fence. He said, I'm doing this. I'm not getting angry. I'm able to control my emotions and I feel so much better. He stopped for a moment and he looked at the fence. The beautiful fence now had all the holes in it. So he went back inside and he talked to his dad. He said, "Dad, I'm so happy I've been able to control my anger now. But look how ugly I've made the fence. It was all beautiful with no holes in it, and I put so many holes in it." He said, "I hurt the fence. And there are scars there that I cannot correct because they'll be there forever." The father said, "Son, you've learned how to control your anger, and that is so important." The boy thought for a minute, and he said, "Dad, I'm so sorry. I realize I probably hurt you each time I got angry. I probably did like putting a nail in the fence, putting a hole in your heart." And the dad said, "Well, son, it did hurt me, but I'm so happy that you're doing better now." So you see, my friend, anger unchecked creates scars in your life. Anger unchecked, as it did with the boy, it snowballs, and you just find yourself getting more angry all the time, and you don't realize how bad you're hurting those that are around about you. You don't realize how bad you're making it for yourself because anger controls you. But just as the young lad, if you will stop and think about it, you can deal with that anger. You can understand that you don't have to cause the holes in the fence. You don't have to cause the problems for yourself. And you have a heavenly Father that is there that you can call on, that has been watching. It hurts the Father when you put the nails in the fence. It hurts the Father when you get angry. But the Father is there, and just as the Father in the natural said, "Son, I forgive you. I will deal with the scars. I am so happy that you no longer have an anger issue." So my friend, today, as you find yourself going through the day, if you feel that anger starting to rise up within you, you may not have a fence in your life that you can go drive a nail in, but you can think of this story. And you can think about how bad it's going to make someone hurt. You can think how bad it's going to be for you going forward if you don't deal with that anger issue. My friend, you can call out today and ask the Lord to help you, and He will. He'll help you with that anger. He'll help you deal with those issues. And I can assure you that once you learn to deal with that anger, once you learn to not let that anger control you, your whole life will be better. You will be happier. You won't have scars to heal. You won't have scars with people that you got angry with that you shouldn't, to go back and apologize and say, "I'm so sorry." But the scar is still there. So my friend, today, each time you start to get angry, stop, think about the nail in the fence and the hole and the scar, and tell yourself, "I'm not going to get angry. I'm going to deal with the situation. I'm going to come through it. I'm going to rise above it, and I'm going to do better." And you will. For if you think about it, you don't have to get angry, and you do not have to let anger control you.